This is the Acer Nitro 5 and is possibly the best budget gaming laptop available. Now this one is actually the Ryzen 2500U and RX 560X model. So we're going to take a look at it, we're going to benchmark it, we're going to see what it's like to use, what it's like in games, and if it's worth your money. So let's take a look. So let's start off with a quick rundown of the laptop. On the top of the clamshell you have this carbon fiber aesthetic and the Acer logo, which is actually really nice. It's kind of gamery but also quite subtle and a nice kind of balance, I think, as well as a beautiful red accent at the top with the Nitro logo on there too. In terms of the sides, you have obviously a fair bit of I/O. On the right hand side you have your headphone microphone combo jack as a 4-pole headphone jack, as well as two USB 2 ports and DC in, and then on the opposite side you have Gigabit Ethernet, USB Type-C, USB 3 port Type A, as well as an HDMI port and an SD card reader, so a pretty decent overall I/O set. Taking a look inside the clamshell, you have a rather nice 1080p IPS display. Now it's only 60 Hz and seemingly doesn't support FreeSync, but it's actually a very nice experience to use both day-to-day web browsing and for gaming as well. In terms of the keyboard and trackpad, you have actually a very nice, just standard membrane keyboard. It's not one of the membrane mechanical kind of ones with an annoying click, it's just a good mechanical or membrane keyboard. It's actually pretty nice to type on, has a number of function keys at the top which you can use with the FN key down at the bottom, and they've kind of no cardinal sins in terms of the keyboard layout, with a good size enter key, at least for a British person anyway, and the Windows key down the bottom, which you can turn off if you fancy. In terms of the trackpad, it's a decent size. It's not obviously the biggest in the world, and comparing it to something like the MacBook, you're going to see that it's pretty tiny, but it's a good user experience. You still have things like swiping and gestures, as well as obviously like 2-finger scrolling. You don't have any physical hardware buttons at the bottom, but again, you can still physically click on it and use it just fine, although of course this is a more gaming style laptop, so you're more likely to have an external mouse with you anyway. A quick peek on the inside of the laptop reveals a pretty decent overall setup, a pretty good cooling solution, and I believe a 48 watt-hour battery, which isn't too bad for something of this size and especially of this price range. You're still gonna get fairly minimal battery life. I think you're probably looking at 4 to 5 hours of general usage, with then only about an hour if you're gaming, but overall it's still pretty decent, again, especially for the sort of price point. In terms of the spec for this laptop, this one is a Ryzen 2500U, which is actually an impressive quad-core with SMT kind of CPU. You also have an AMD RX 560X, which is a sort of budget but still decent gaming graphics chip, and of course the Ryzen 2500U does also have Vega 8 graphics built in, so it does actually have graphics switching for different applications for better battery life. You also have 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM, 128 gig M.2 SSD, I think it's an SK Hynix one, as well as a 1TB hard drive, and overall just a pretty decent kind of usage experience, especially day to day. I did have a bug with the laptop, which I should probably point out, where the CPU was significantly throttled to 0.38 gigahertz, even while plugged in, which is kind of naff, but that's all fixed if you update the laptop to the 1.08 BIOS, which I'll try and remember to leave a link to Acer's website where you can download that. But either way, to update the BIOS, it's just an exe that you run and just let it do its thing, so super easy to fix if your laptop doesn't come pre-updated. In terms of gaming performance, I use my normal suite, including Fortnite, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, GTA 5, Dirt Rally, and then obviously Unity in Heaven and 3D Mark Firestrike. So let's take a look at those results. So taking a look at 3D Mark Firestrike, we have a score of 5,378 points, which is not too bad. Of course, this is definitely a budget gaming laptop, so keep all of these scores in mind that they're on very higher ultra settings, like Dirt Rally here, where we're running at 42 FPS. The one thing I would point out though is that the minimums are actually not that much lower than the average, which is impressive to see. GTA 5 is 55 FPS average, with again 24 and 96 minimum and maximum, which is also not too bad, nearing the 60 FPS mark even on very high settings. Unity in Heaven again on fairly high settings, settings, we're looking at 33 FPS with a minimum of 10 and maximum of 64, which is fairly standard for Unity in Heaven. In terms of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, testing on Sanhok, we had 25 FPS with 8 minimum and 40 maximum, which again is pretty, kind of on the low side, but again, this is on ultra settings, and no one plays pub on ultra, but anyway, that's that. And with Fortnite, we're looking at 35 FPS, again on epic settings, with 26 minimum and 43 maximum, so actually fairly impressive for the hardware and the settings. So the main thing to mention with those results is that those were all with my standard test settings of sort of ultra, very high, kind of epic settings. Most of the laptops, in fact almost all of the laptops in this price range that you're gonna find for, as I said, this sort of money, will not be able to do anything close to what this one can do, or at very least you're looking at very similar results. If of course you are looking at this sort of kind of price range, then generally speaking you should be expecting to be playing on medium to high settings to get a sort of smooth 60 FPS experience, rather than the kind of ultra epic settings that a more high-end budget might afford you. So overall, I am nothing but happy with the laptop. I would happily recommend it for anyone, especially in this sort of price range. I would mention though, you should probably take this review with a grain of salt more than you usually would, because Acer sponsored an unboxing video with this laptop, so they have paid me to talk about the laptop, not necessarily for this review, but they have in general, and they provided the laptop for me to actually keep, not including this review as well, so just bear that in mind when you hear what I'm talking about. But my general opinion, as unbiased as I can make it, which is obviously fairly biased, is that this is actually a very good laptop, especially for the price. It kind of brings into question whether the laptops that I've reviewed in the past, that are 2 or 3 times more expensive than this, are actually worth it in that kind of price range. But either way, as I said, it's an impressive kind of bit of kit for this sort of price, and I genuinely recommend it. Of course, that is my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. Are you after a laptop in this sort of price point, and this is, the perfect thing for you, or are you someone who would much prefer something more expensive but a lot better quality and a lot more performance, something like the Asus GL703 GS? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Of course, if you do want to pick one of these up, I'll leave a link down below for you where you can check it out and check out pricing when and where you watch this as well. And otherwise, that is kind of it. If you want to support the channel and keep me making these videos, you can obviously feel free to check out the sponsored video for the unboxing of this, but otherwise you can check out the other links down below, from Patreon to Amazon and Overclocked UK affiliate links to private internet access, which is a great VPN you can get for super cheap and also massively help me out. And other than that, there's a load of other stuff. Of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, with live streams on Thursday evenings, and you can also check out the other videos over there too. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next video.